Today I'm doing my very first eye look with the new Natasha Denona Golden Palette. There has been so much hype around this palette because it was leaked a couple weeks ago, but this palette is now available, and if you want to buy it on Natasha's site, you can use my code AngelaBright to save you some money. Yesterday I posted my swatches of this palette, and I did compare it to some other palettes that were highly requested, specifically the original Natasha Denona Gold Palette and the Sigma Ambiance in the Urban Decay Naked Honey. So if you want to check out that video and get kind of my first impressions of the shades and all of the swatches, I will link that down below for you. But let's get into the eyeshadow tutorial, and at the end of the video I'm going to give you my final thoughts on the Golden Palette. Alright, let's do an eye look with this palette. Again, my palette looks super used because I just filmed a bunch of swatches and comparisons with this, and that video is already on my channel. On a fluffy crease brush, I'm going to take Aria, and I'm going to run this shade throughout my entire crease. This was just one dip into the shadow, and I'm pretty happy with the amount of pigment that I'm getting. On the same brush, I'm going to take a little bit of Flesh, and I'm going to place this right on top of Aria in my crease. Oh yeah, this shade's adding a lot more warmth to the look. In my swatches with this palette, I was kind of struggling to swatch the matte shades. They would look a little bit patchy. I would have to build them up a few times, but these are looking really nice in the crease, and they're blending out like really fast. Now I'm going to take a small crease brush in the shade Pana, and I want to use that to kind of lighten this inner crease area just right here. It was just looking a little bit too harsh for me right here, but I really like that this palette has this kind of lighter shade in it to help blend out edges and just kind of soften everything out for my skin tone. I'm also going to take some of that shade just right under my brow, again, to soften all of this out. Now I'm taking a little bit more Flesh on my crease brush, and I'm just building that up on my upper crease right out here. Now for the lid, I have to use this Nubia shade. I loved this every single time I swatched it. I love a good champagne like this, so I have pretty high expectations, and that's gonna go on my entire eyelid. Oh, that is so pretty. And then I'm going back to my crease brush, and I'm just gonna soften around the edges of that shimmer. So there's what that looks like on its own. This is so pretty. I know this might seem kind of boring to some people, but like this is the type of eyeshadow that I've really been liking to wear recently. Now I want to take a little bit of Kava, and I just want to see what happens if I add this just right in the center of my lid. Like, how different does this really look from that Nubia shade? I feel like the shade might be a little bit deeper than Nubia, like just a tad, and it has a little bit more gold in it, so it's not really doing what I wanted it to. I wanted more like a halo eye where the center of my lid is brighter, so I'm gonna add one more thing on top. Let me try that again with Aura. Yeah, this shade has a lighter base to it. So will this pop my center of my eyelid? I don't know, I don't feel like that's doing much on top of that Nubia shade. I feel like Nubia is just so sparkly as it is that's like, these just aren't really showing up, but I still do love how sparkly my lid is. Now for my lower lash line, I'm gonna take more Aria on a small firm crease brush, and I'm gonna run that across my entire lower lash line. And I'm also gonna add a little bit more Flesh to that as well. I typically take the shades that are in my crease and also add them to my lower lash line for a more cohesive look. Now I'm gonna pick up Log on a very small angled brush, and I'm just gonna stamp that along the outer part of my lower lash line and do a little flick for a wing. Just a little wing like that. Now the only thing this palette is kind of missing for me is a highlighter shade, and I like something that's a little bit more white toned, sparkly, that I can put in my inner corner and my brow bone. But sometimes you can use a matte white shade to do that. So I'm gonna try Malika, we'll see what happens. This is more of an off-white color, but we'll see if this will brighten at all. Oh, I think a little bit. Okay, I'm getting something here. And maybe using a matte shade for this kind of works just because there is so much sparkle all over my lid. And then I'll add just a tiny bit under the arch of my brow. I'm gonna add a light eyeliner to my waterline. This is Makeup Forever Boundless Bisque. And this just kind of lightens up my waterline a bit. It doesn't add too much brightness. I went ahead and popped on a half lash just right out here on the outer corner. And for that lash, I'm wearing the Bright Lashes half lash in Whisper. And here's a final close-up of the eye look. Here is what the full face looks like. I love how this looks so much. In case you're wondering, my blush is the new Kosas Blush is Life in the shade Dreamland. I bought this one myself and it's such a pretty color. I'm planning on doing a whole video soon about like a bunch of new launches. But also with this golden collection, there is a lip gloss and a highlighter palette. Now I did just pop on this lip gloss for a little TikTok and like it's tingly. Like I'm getting some plumping and I was not expecting that. But I'm just wearing this gloss on top of a lip liner. I'm wearing Makeup Forever Wherever Walnut. So this gloss is just like one of those clear glosses that has a bit of gold shimmer in it. Then there is also a golden highlighter trio. Now in my video I just filmed, the first shade popped out and I was like, that better not be broken. So I need to re-glue that in because that is not okay. If you ever have that problem, just take like some nail glue because that's pretty freaking strong, and I'm just gonna swirl it into this little empty pan, and then I'm just gonna re-stick in that shade and press down. Not too hard, but enough to get it to stick and hopefully stay. Anyways, I am wearing the lightest shade Pearl on my cheekbones. It is such a pretty highlight shade, but I want to swatch the other two just to see what we're working with here. They feel very, very smooth and creamy. And they're powders, by the way. They're not like any kind of cream formula. This is Sun Glow, the middle shade, and then this is Bronze. I mean, that's definitely way too deep for me, but that is gorgeous. I could use that as an eyeshadow. I could see myself using this Sun Glow. I'd probably mix it with Pearl, but this is a nice formula. But I feel like it's kind of funny seeing a highlighter trio launch now in 2024, where it kind of feels like highlighter has been dying recently, and now Natasha's like, nope, I'm bringing out a whole highlighter trio. But I'm not mad about it. I still wear highlighter pretty much every single time I do my makeup still. So I want to wrap this up with my thoughts on this palette. Now that I have swatched it, I've compared it to a bunch of other palettes that I have, and I have now used it on my eyes. I gotta say, I really, really like it, and let me tell you why. I've been kind of planning on making a video about this topic, how it seems like eyeshadow just in general is kind of on the decline, and I feel like we've really seen the eyeshadow trend just like switch a lot. You know, back in 2016 when I was really getting into makeup, I was doing bold eye looks, graphic liner, colorful shades, just like really intense looks, and now my makeup style has really leaned just more into a neutral and a softer look overall. The type of eyeshadow looks that I like to wear on a regular basis is maybe like a bronzer or some kind of brown shade in my crease, a sparkly shade on my lid, a little bit of something on the lower lash line, a lash and call it good. Pretty much exactly like what I did today. And I really like that the shades in this palette do lean a little bit more on the neutral side. Again, like I said before, I like that they're not too warm where they're that orangey warmness, because I'm just honestly really over like warm orange eyeshadows. But this is something I can totally get on board with because I feel like it's very on trend with this soft eyeshadow look we've been seeing. You know, most of these shades do lean more light to medium toned, and we only have one deep shade in this palette. So I think for someone with a light to medium skin tone, maybe your eyeshadow preferences have switched a little bit like mine. Maybe you just like more of a softer eyeshadow look all the time. I think you would love this palette, but I don't really know how well this palette will work for deeper skin tones. Like I can just see some of these shades probably looking very ashy, which is super unfortunate. So I definitely want to see if Natasha's going to use this on a deeper model or see what other deeper skin tone creators have to say about this palette. Again, this was only my first time using this palette, but one thing I was worried about was the matte shades, because if you watched my swatch video, when I swatched this next to the original gold palette, these matte shades swatched so much smoother, like it was so easy to tell. So I was kind of worried about these. I was like, oh my gosh, are they going to be patchy? Are they not going to blend out? But I didn't have that issue. But again, I did really only use like these two brown shades today, a little bit of that one. I am definitely going to keep playing with this palette. I'll probably do maybe like a 3-4 looks with this palette video, give you guys some more inspiration on it. And then again, like I said in my swatches video, if you have the original gold palette, you probably don't need this new one because 9 of the shades are in this new one. But I gotta say, I'm a fan and I would recommend this palette. Again, if you want to check out this palette on Natasha's site, my code AngelaBright will save you some money there. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.